Hello, I'm Chris from TechSpert, and today we're having a good hard squint at the fresh new Honor 200 Pro, which is unsurprisingly a Billy Big Bollocks upgraded version of the regular Honor 200 smartphone, and it'll cost you 699 GBPs here in the UK. For a price similar to the Pixel 8, you get some Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 performance, good enough for all your Genshin needs, as well as a whole bunch of magic features, a whopping great 6.78-inch AMOLED display, massive 5200 mAh silicon carbon battery, and some pretty snazzy camera tech. Ideal for a bit of portrait action. Of course, that Pixel 8 is pretty hardcore competition, so is the Honor 200 Pro worth it? Well, let's take you on a full-on tour, test out that camera tech, the gaming chops, all the good stuff, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, what do you get stuffed in the box besides, of course, the Honor 200 Pro? Well, you should get a power adapter as well as a USB cable, but I've got an early review sample, so they didn't quite get around to bunging that adapter in there. And you do also get a condom case chucked in there as well to keep your Honor 200 Pro as pristine as possible. And that's it, nice and easy. So now let's check out the phone. Get on, you bastards. Alright, so the Honor 200 Pro is actually pretty light for a flagship type device. Weighs a gerbil's nutsack under 200 grams, which is pretty impressive for a 6.78-inch behemoth. Now you've actually got yourself a floating display similar to the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, and this is subtly curved on all sides, including the top and bottom edges. Not quite to the same degree as Xiaomi's Blow, it's not quite as obvious here on the Honor 200 Pro, but it does mean minimal bezel action. As you can clearly see here, we've got a super light wallpaper on the go. This also means that the sides are pretty skinny. You've actually got some glossy plastic edging on the go. And yeah, slightly gutted you don't get a proper metal frame given that £700 price tag. And then around back it's a matte finish. This is the Moonlight White model. You get a similar marbly effect as those Poco F6 phones, once again reminding me of my nan's bathroom tiles. You can also apparently snaffle this smartphone in cyan and black, and I do like the matte finish because it means no smudgy, grimy, greasy prints. No matter how hard this phone gets fingered, keeps that grime at bay. And gotta say, I like the distinctive look of the oval-shaped camera bump. Certainly stands out from the rest of the crowd, that's for sure, and it certainly stands out from the back end as well, which is a bit more unfortunate. So I certainly expect a good bit of rattling if this phone's sat on a desk or a table or whatever. Now, no shocks or surprises really when it comes to the software side, because it's once again on a Magic version 8.0 squatting on top of Android 14. Seems to be a very similar setup to what you get with the Honor Magic 6 Pro flagship smartphone, and I'm hoping therefore that you get a similar 4 years of Android OS updates and 5 years of security patching. Haven't had that confirmed from Honor yet, but certainly as this is a flagship-y device, you'd expect several years of longevity. And over time, macOS is improving and becoming less infuriating, so you can do simple things like drag down the notifications bar from anywhere on that screen now. Don't have to be reaching all the way up to the top end every time. Of course, it's still split into the notification center and the control center as well. Just drag down from different sides for each, and actually prefer the individual control center, which you can access all of those toggles with one simple swipe. You can also skim between the two like so. You've got the usual stackable widgets, or cards as Honor likes to refer to them as, and you can drag all of these out with a long swipe like so. And as always, macOS fully customizable as well. Just dive into home screen and style in the settings. You can mess around with fonts, themes, icons, all of that good stuff. There is an always on display section. This starts with a slightly silly full screen option, which is similar to what the iPhone does. It's much better if you switch to the partial screen, as then you can actually schedule it or have it shown all day long, whereas if you stick with the full screen effort, then you can only have it display when you tap the screen. Very much not an always on display. And as usual, tons of different designs to choose from. You can even stick on your own images. And of course, as this is macOS, you've got plenty of magic features packed on here. So for instance, there's magic portals. So if you highlight some text and then just long press on it and then drag it to the edge of the screen, you can quickly and easily share it with a variety of apps. It's a good way of making notes, copying text between various apps, etc. On a magic scale, I wouldn't say it's up there with Paul Daniels, but it's quite helpful. And then you've got Magic Capsule, which is basically an iPhone-style dynamic islands type situation, which pops up when you're recording audio in the background. Just give this a wee poke and you can quickly pause or resume your recording. You can also stop it entirely. And that magic capsule also pops up if you're playing a bit of Spotify or some other media in the background. Again, allowing you to quickly access those controls to pause, play, skip a track, whatever. And then there's Honor's Magic Ring, which allows you to seamlessly and quickly connect to a variety of laptops and other supported devices. And it's not just Honor that's got a magic ring, mine's pretty magic too. Every time I have a Vindaloo, it gushes so violently it breaks the sound barrier. And Honor has chucked on a wee bit of crapware as well. It's not quite as offensive as Xiaomi's efforts, but you got AliExpress, Amazon Shopping, Booking.com, Trip.com. It's certainly sorted if you want to book a sodden holiday up. And you've got a generous 512 gigs of storage for your apps, media, etc. here on the Honor 200 Pro. That's not expandable via microSD memory card, but you do have space for 2 SIM cards here. Otherwise, instead of a second physical SIM, you can just add an eSIM card. It's very handy if you're traveling abroad somewhere where your usual data package isn't supported. You can just get a local eSIM on the go. Now, the Honor 200 Pro sports a 6.78-inch mega bastard AMOLED display, which has certainly appeased movie fans, gamers, etc. You've got the colour spaffage set to vivid by default, so certainly expect some poppy, punchy visuals, ideal for a bit of geeky anime goodness. But the colour output can be set to natural if you're editing pics or just don't fancy really vibrant images. That double selfie cam does mean slightly more intrusion when you are gaming or watching a movie or whatever. Although frankly it's nowhere near as bad as the iPhones with their shonky dynamic island bollocks. Got a 2700 by 1224 pixel resolution, so even though it's a pretty ruddy massive panel, those visuals still remain pleasantly crisp. You've got a good bit of HDR10 streaming support in the likes of Netflix. And if we dive on into those display settings, there's plenty of features to help protect your peepers as well, packed away in the Oasis Eye Protection section. This includes a good bit of PWM dimming in case you happen to get headaches using OLED panels. And no moaning from me when it comes to the screen brightness either, because when you max this thing out, you'll comfortably be able to see what you're up to, even outdoors with lots of vicious sun glare to contend with. And as you'd expect, that refresh rate maxes out at 120 Hz for supported apps, so everything looks silky smooth. And I've had bugger all issues with the screen responsiveness, even when I'm clutching this smartphone really tight, despite the fact you've got those curved edges. Even if my fingers intrude on the edges there, as you can see there, still remains nice and responsive. And the Honor 200 Pro also boasts a stereo speaker setup, which apparently hits 80 decibels at its peak volume, allegedly. Let's try it out with my Honor Magic 6 Pro review. Chonksters like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. So if you're the owner of baggy pockets stuffed full of lovely cash and you want to swap some of that cash for a massive phone, well, you've already got lots of choice. And yeah, they're certainly not pissing about. When you max out that volume, the Honor 200 Pro spaffs out some incredibly loud audio, definitely enough to cut through any kind of background clamour. It actually goes into 200% mode, as if you could actually double the maximum possible volume. And when you do pump that volume up to the maximum levels, thankfully no distortion, the audio stays pretty bassy. Now, while the Honor Magic 6 Pro has Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 stuffed inside, the most premium Qualcomm chipset right now, the Honor 200 Pro goes with the 8S Gen 3, which isn't quite as capable, uses an older GPU, but still pretty bloody beefy. Certainly everyday real-world shenanigans, absolutely no issues, apps can run side by side. But of course, to truly test out the Honor 200 Pro's metal, I got a good bit of Genshin Impact on the go as always. And I found that the game ran just as well as it did on the Moto Edge 50 Ultra, which rocks the same chipset. Bumped the graphics settings all the way up to the maximum possible level at 60 frames per second, and I found the frame rate was fairly fluid. The occasional wee judder here and there, but even when things got pretty mental, the phone certainly didn't struggle. And if you like to murder the living shit out of tribes of Gribblies living in the hillside, well, no worries, you can do it for hours at a time. The Honor 200 Pro did start to get a bit toasty after about sort of 30-40 minutes, but thankfully didn't heat up too much more beyond that, and certainly the performance didn't suffer as a result. And of course, as always with macOS, you've got yourself a dedicated gaming mode. This can help to boost the performance for really intensive games. Just give this a wee tap here. You can also quickly and easily tweak the screen brightness. You've got Do Not Disturb tools, screen recording, touch enhancer. Makes that screen even more responsive. You can quickly and easily open up other apps as well in a mini window. Particularly handy with games like Genshin. You've got no idea what on earth you're supposed to be doing, just look up a quick walkthrough. And the Honor 200 Pro also impresses when it comes to the battery life, because you've got a 5,200 mAh capacity battery crammed inside of that reasonably slender chassis. And it's the same silicon carbon tech that Honor used for its Magic V2 foldable, so super skinny. And that battery drain really ain't too bad. So for instance, about an hour's worth of Genshin Impact action earlier today took it down just around 15%. So even quite demanding users should get all day play out of a single charge, no worries. But if you do find yourself running a wee bit low on juice, well, no worries there either. You've got 100-watt wired charging support on here and 66-watt wireless charging support as well. So take your pick, you're going to be powered back up in a jiffy. And let's finish up this lovely wee video on the Honor 200 Pro with a squint at the optics. And what you've got here is a triple lens setup, and that's headlined by a 50 megapixel super dynamic H9000 sensor. And yeah, Honor's camera app can be quite a lot to take in. There's a lot of different features and toggles and tools. So for instance, you've got an AI mode up here, but on top of that, you've also got a small variety of filters, including natural, vibrant, and authentic. And then this wee icon in the corner that looks like some dude flailing about is the Auto Capture Smarts. And this allows the Honor 200 Pro to automatically snap any pictures of cats or kids or whatever when it detects smiling or jumping or some kind of action. Personally, I prefer just actually tapping the shutter button, get the exact precise photo that you want, but it's there if you want it. You've also got yourself a dedicated 50 meg portrait telephoto lens, which uses a custom Sony IMX856 sensor and has a 2x optical zoom. Now, Honor has teamed up with Studio Harcourt for the AI portrait image processing smarts, which apparently helps to enhance the lighting and the shadows in any portrait shots that you snap. And you've also got 3 Harcourt filters to choose from. Harcourt Vibrant is the default, otherwise you can also choose Harcourt Color, which makes everything quite sort of moody and ambient. Otherwise, a bit of Harcourt Classic, which is full-on monochrome. And my portrait shots on the whole so far, pretty good, as long as there's no motion, especially if you're trying to capture a snap in more ambient light. Otherwise, you will get quite blurry results. But the zoom in certainly helps to get a more natural shot at a distance. And then last up, you've also got a basic bog standard 12 megapixel ultra wide angle shooter if you want a more pulled back view. And this is also used for those super macro shots. And here's just a handful of other sample shots that I've snapped around the old homestead these past 24 hours. And certainly the Honor 200 Pro seems pretty capable, especially when it comes to those lower light shots. As long as there's no motion, it can pick out plenty of finer details and reproduce some pretty respectably natural looking colours. And yes, Honor has chucked on a full-on dedicated Pro mode as well. You want to play around with the ISO levels, the shutter speed, the white balance, etc. And you could also capture a good bit of raw format images if you want to edit on the fly. And then for your video recording needs, you can capture footage at up to 4K resolution at 16:9 or 21:9 aspect ratio. You've got an AI option for shooting video, which can just tweak the visuals subtly depending on what you're shooting. But if you activate this, you can only record 4K footage at 30 frames per second. If you knock it off, you can then bump up to 60 FPS. And certainly again, the Honor 200 Pro seems pretty capable when it comes to video capture. You've even got a dedicated night mode that you can swap to if you're shooting a bit of low light footage like this. And then up front on the Honor 200 Pro, you've got a 50 megapixel selfie camera with a secondary time of flight lens slapped alongside it. You've got full autofocus, as you can see there. And again, so far I've been pretty impressed by the results spaffed out by this thing. As impressed as anyone can be with photos of this bald Gurnan mug. And once again, you can capture up to 4K Ultra HD resolution footage using that 50 meg selfie cam at 30 frames per second. It's locked in at that this time around. There's no 60 FPS option. Again, clear audio pickup using those built-in mics and everything, so no complaints. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a succulent wee nutshell is the rather tasty looking Honor 200 Pro. Can be yours for £699 right now from the Honor UK website, and it certainly seems to be a respectable rival to that Pixel 8. Obviously don't get the same lovely stock version of Android, and I do prefer Google's exclusive Pixel features to the magic shenanigans on here. But that hardware, proper solid stuff. You got reasonably beefy performance, excellent battery life, and that camera tech is a bit of a banger, especially if you want to take lots of portrait shots of the fam. That's what I reckon anyway. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on the Honor 200 Pro down in the comments below. Please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a really wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you.